How does IHL protect the environment in armed conflict? Imagine a war zone where the natural world is treated like a civilian object that must be protected. That's the idea behind how international humanitarian law, or IHL, helps shield the environment during conflict. When countries go to war, the environment often suffers from destruction, which can harm civilians who depend on natural resources like water, food, and clean air. IHL steps in to limit this damage and keep the environment safe. IHL recognizes that the environment is not a target for attack. It sets rules to prevent widespread or long-lasting damage to nature. For example, it bans methods of warfare that could cause severe environmental harm, like using certain explosives or chemicals that could poison land, water, or ecosystems for years. This helps protect the land and water that civilians relying on for their survival. Military commanders are also required to consider the environment when planning their operations. They must weigh the environmental impact and avoid unnecessary damage unless it's absolutely needed for military success. This means they should choose tactics that minimize harm to forests, rivers, and wildlife. States have a duty to respect these rules and ensure their armed forces follow them. Many countries have incorporated these environmental protections into their national laws and military policies. This way, soldiers are trained to think about the environment just like they think about avoiding civilian harm. During conflicts, certain areas can be declared protected zones or demilitarized zones. These are special places where environmental sites like parks, wildlife reserves, or water sources are off-limits to military action. This helps preserve critical ecosystems and cultural sites from destruction. Environmental damage from or can also cross borders, affecting neighboring countries. IHL recognizes this and expects parties to avoid causing transboundary harm that could impact other nations' environments. All these rules aim to keep the natural world intact, knowing that a healthy environment is vital for civilians' well-being. By limiting environmental destruction, IHL helps ensure that natural resources remain available for future generations, and that civilians can continue to depend on their environment for food, water, and shelter. In practice, this means integrating environmental considerations into military manuals, training soldiers on environmental obligations, and encouraging countries to share best practices. These steps help make sure that, even in war, respect for the environment is maintained. So, in essence, IHL protects the environment in armed conflict by setting clear legal limits on harmful actions, requiring careful planning, and holding states responsible for safeguarding nature. All of this works together to protect civilians and their vital natural resources during times of war.